from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African American owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening and welcome to Socrates, Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, in the heart of the Deep South. Mississippi is just a great town. I don't call it a state, I call it a town, because we all know one another here in Mississippi. I like to think that the grass is just a little bit greener and the air is just a little bit cleaner here in Mississippi. Now, we've had some difficult times. You know, our history reflects that. And so we are now trying to find a way to improve the quality of life in this great state. You know, we're blessed with great weather, and we're blessed with rivers that run right down through our city. You know, in Oklahoma City, they have to pump water downtown. In Jackson, Mississippi, the Mighty Pearl runs right down through the middle of the city. We are blessed in so many ways. We're 200 miles away from almost everywhere, 200 miles away from Memphis, Tennessee, 200 miles away from Shreveport, Louisiana, 200 miles from Birmingham, Alabama, 200 miles from Mobile, Alabama. So we should be a hub. We should be the transportation center of the world. And I recall in the very beginning from reading my history books that Delta Airlines was in Monroe, Louisiana, and they wanted to move to Jackson, Mississippi with their headquarters. And our fathers and our leaders at that time denied them the opportunity because they wanted to keep Mississippi rural and backwards. And they have been tremendously successful with that. Now, we're fighting to change those conditions, and we're trying to improve the quality of life. And we're going to do that by bringing correct history. Those things that have been portrayed about African Americans as being lazy and shiftless and irresponsible are just utterly outrageous. We got to talk about the great things that we've done and the heritage that we come from. Now, my co-host, who is not on this platform with us tonight, always says that, you know, African Americans went through some changes that caused them to act different and caused us to come divided. And we created what he calls a new man, a man that was created that didn't have any allegiance to family, home, country, and those kinds of things. Gave him a new religion, gave him a new language, divided the children, separated the families, and then you create something that you have here today. And then you further the impact of that by dealing with the issues that when J. Edgar Hoover decided that no black man would ever live in the family, in the house again, if the woman was going to get any kind of subsidy. And so Section 8 housing, which is still in place today, says that if a black man is in the house, you can't not get Section 8. All of that was designed, and the impact of crack cocaine that poured into Watts and other places like that created the conditions that we find ourselves in. And now we have black leadership. You know, we have black mayors that are running 4 of the largest cities in this country doing an outstanding job, but they're under attack all of the time. They are under attack. Now, my guest here this evening is special for me because they understand what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi, and they've seen things from all around the world. One of the things that you have to understand is that if you're not exposed to it, if you never see it, then you don't have any idea what's happening to you. So it's a great deal of pleasure for me to introduce this panel tonight. But now, if you're watching us on Facebook, then go ahead and share this program with your friends and family and become a subscriber. We'd love to have you as one. If you're watching us on YouTube, then go ahead on and subscribe to the program. Our subscription base is growing every day. Now, if you're watching us on our very own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com, you'll see that we're a little bit different because there we have a platform, a network. We're not a page. And so you'll find gospel, you'll find inspiration, you'll find hot topics, you'll find Black Lives Matter, you'll find sports and everything else. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that we have the internet radio station, We Believe Radio, 24 hours a day with some of the best music that you ever want to hear. So we need you to support this program, and we're going to get right into our discussion this evening and deal with this distinguished panel that's here in Mississippi to bring us some news. I'll start out with you, Michael. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here, sir.
Good to have you here. I want you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your background. And down in Mississippi, we always say, who are your folk?
Yeah. Well, my folks are from Newton County, Mississippi.
Okay.
So not too far up the road, but there's a special place when I come to Mississippi. I'm from Flint, Michigan, and we're almost linked, like the Mississippi link says. We're linked at the hip. We have some of the same issues, some of the same things going on in our cities as sister cities. You know, I started very young being involved in politics as a young kid. I grew up in Flint, Michigan. You talked about how crack impacted our communities. It definitely hit cities like Flint very hard. I grew up through those tough times. But like anything that's crushed under its weight, we came out like diamonds on the other side. Or like a pearl, like the Pearl River, you could say. So when you have a person come through that, I've come through those type of things, you develop a type of fortitude. And that fortitude coming from Newton County, Mississippi, where my grandparents came from, all the way up to Flint, Michigan, runs through my veins like the Pearl River. So I want to say that one of the things that we do here in Flint, we test water. I'm a founder of the Flint Community Lab. We test water for lead and copper, and we make sure that we turn young people in our lab into lab techs, into chemists, and we educate them on what to do with water and educate the community on what to do with their water and what's going on with their water.
Well, Michael, we're certainly going to get into the depths of that discussion. Let's move on and have our Honorable Candace Musha.
Mushat. You were close. You almost had it, yes.
Class. And you are a Flint City Council person, I believe, as well.
Yes,
and so you are involved in the testing of water, and you're also involved in the government. So you kind of have a leg in both sides of the aisle. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this position.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Candace Mushat, born and raised in Flint, Michigan. And when I come down to Jackson, when I tell you it feels like home in the best ways and also in some of the most challenging ways as well. You come down here and you're treated like family, you're greeted like family, but you're also greeted by some of the same things that you will see in Flint, Michigan when we talk about garbage contract issues, when we talk about water quality issues, when we look at even the streets and the quality of the streets. It feels so much like home, but that's something that we see across the country in predominantly black cities. And so we have to begin, even tonight, if the conversation starts here with us, of why is it that when we go to predominantly black cities, we all have the exact same issues, and how do we begin to overcome that? How do we begin to change the narrative, begin to add to our economy, build generational wealth for ourselves? But like you said, we will get into that. I am the vice president of the Flint City Council, as well as the director of the Flint Community Lab. And with those two things, I think it positions you in a way to see the world, not only that, but black cities in a different light. And not only do you see the issues and the concerns, but you also see possible ways to help bring us out of those challenges as well.
Well, we look forward to getting into some of those ways and solutions. Now, you know, my last panelist here, I've grown to like, and I've just met her here personally. I've talked to her on the phone, but she's a young lady that speaks her mind. And so it's a pleasure for me to introduce Miss Simone Lightfoot and tell us a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and what you've been doing.
Thank you so much. I am Simone Lightfoot from Michigan as well, but so committed and connected to Jackson, Mississippi. This place really is what Detroit used to be. It really is. Detroit used to have a whole lot of black folk in charge. Y'all still have that. Now, what they do with that power, I'd like to see them extend it, be bolder with it, and understand that they're like Big Mama. Mississippi is Big Mama. When Big Mama not good, ain't no, Detroit can't be good when Jackson ain't good. That's just the way it works. And so my role is being passionate, being a civil rights activist, social justice advocate as well, and focusing on our natural resources. So I have the privilege of working with our newly elected Jackson Get Down, newly elected Public Utilities and Public Service Commission, the Keither Stamps. He reached out to me and he said, Simone, I need you to come down here and help us figure out what we do with solar energy, renewable energy, how we make nuclear work, how we make hydro work for people in this city as well as in the first district. How do we make sure that the Delta benefits from all the assets they have? And so that's what I'm here to do, and excited about it.
Well, let's get right into it. Now, Jackson has had some serious water issues.
Yes.
We had a couple of hard freezes. We had entire community was without water for over 30 days. And during that time, people could not flush their commodes. They could not take a bath. They didn't have access to clean water. We were pumping water in by tankers and then having long lines for people to come with their 5-gallon pails, their quart bottles, just to get some water to take home. Now, the first water crisis that I heard of in our cities actually occurred in Flint. So I need you to bring us up to date in terms of what happened in Flint and what are the similarities to what occurred there and is what's going on in Jackson. Keep in mind that the federal government just awarded $600 million to Jackson to try and improve its water plant. And they appointed us a white czar to be in charge of that. And so while we want to help and need to help, we need to understand what happened in Flint and how did it happen there and how did it happen to Jackson and what we're going to do about it. So I'll start with you, Candace.
Absolutely. So while I was not on the city council at that time, I'm the newest member of the Flint City Council, but just to give you some history of how we ended up with a water crisis in the city of Flint, we have to go to the state government and the fact that we currently have an emergency manager law in the state of Michigan. That means someone can come in, someone who you did not elect, someone that you didn't even appoint. They can come in and they can make decisions for your city, meaning they can sell off whatever they consider an asset, to do whatever they need to do to make sure that you are financially, and I don't even want to call it stable, a person that can come in and do stuff to their liking. They're not held to a revenue building standard. They're not held to the standard of having to leave you better off than they found you. They simply need to come in and figure out how to make enough money to say, okay, we fix this enough to where I can go. And then they're fixing Flint. Well, they came to the conclusion that we needed to switch over our water source. And everybody knows about the Flint River. The Flint River, it's unfortunately been negatively impacted by the industrial industry, negatively impacted by the auto industry, meaning there have been all kind of chemicals and contaminants dumped into that river. So we had we have an emergency manager who came in who had no connections or ties to this city. They came in and they decided that the city of Flint should switch over to this contaminated river that I'm telling you about as our water source. Wow. And they did that on hundreds of years old, aging infrastructure. Like most of America, Flint's water infrastructure is old and it was bad. And so not only did they switch us over to contaminated water on aging infrastructure, but to go a step further and add insult to injury, they decided we weren't even worth $100 a day to treat the water correctly.
Wow.
And so from there, you have contaminated water coming through aging pipes that were not coated correctly. And that is how you end up with the Flint water crisis.
Wow. How did you avoid bankruptcy in terms of the city itself, avoid a complete takeover by the state of Michigan?
They didn't want them birds.
Well,
But is that not, even though we're not saying it's bankruptcy, and even though we're not calling it a complete takeover, is that not still a complete takeover if they bring someone in who can make decisions to sell off revenue building assets, and then they're not held to a revenue building standard? If they can come in and close down your jail, if they can come in and sell off your junkyard, which you made money, if they can come in and switch your water source, and it doesn't matter what the residents or the elected officials say, is that not complete control? It's the same thing.
And let's talk about, we're talking about water. We can talk about the Pearl River. We can talk about the Flint River. We can talk about the Detroit River. We can talk about the Great Lakes, where we're from, a Great Lakes state. Water is life.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Okay? Water, and my great friend told me that if you cut off water from a population during wartime, it's considered a war crime.
It is.
You can't cut off water from people. And that's what they've been doing in communities all around this country, particularly when we're talking about Flint as it relates to Jackson and when we're dealing with water. The issue with our system was that water pipeline that we have, we built that infrastructure from the ground up, from water we got from Detroit, and Flint used that as a revenue source. So a lot of these individuals wanted to take that revenue source from a city that looks like us and use it for its own measure. See, so you wouldn't have these so-called deficits, so-called budget issues if you properly assess those water rates to the out-county areas who were using our water. And they took that away from us in Flint, and they're trying to do it in Toledo, Ohio, and they're trying to do it in Jackson, Mississippi. And this is the methodology. It used to be oil, now they're going to water. Water is the new fight.
And I think what's important to point out when we talk about what you just mentioned, Michael, in the city of Flint, we used to have the other cities, the surrounding cities, they used to be customers on our water supply. They used to be our customers. They would pay, which would help our water fund. And so they then took our customers and decided that we should become partners with our customers. And when we did not agree or adhere to that, now all of a sudden we were cut out completely, and they wanted us to enter into a contract in which we would pay for more water than we were even going to use. And so there are a lot of steps that we do not even have the time that we need tonight to talk about that. But when we talk about Mississippi and how we link that to what's going on in Mississippi, fun fact, we found out of a report that was released here in Jackson in 2023. So this was just last year, that Mississippi, Jackson specifically, has had the same water quality issues as Flint for the same amount of time as Flint. The only thing that happened was Flint became a public issue first. And so since 2015, and again, this is a published report in the city of Jackson, since 2015, the city of Jackson has up until 2023, they had consistently failed water quality tests. And so the thing that makes that so alarming is that from 2015, after Flint had the huge water crisis and was on a global scale, because it was far beyond the United States, it was far beyond national, is that after Flint was on a global scale, Jackson had the opportunity to address your aging infrastructure, because I believe your water infrastructure was also built around in the 1900s and it was never properly addressed. So they had since 2015 to try to correctly address your water concerns as well, but they did not correctly address your water concerns either.
Well, let me ask Ms. Simone. Is the access to clean water a civil rights issue?
No question.
And so how would you assess the quality of water in urban cities that have the black diaspora?
Well, it's consistent. I mean, it's consistent. When you look at the most populated black centers, they have water issues. They have water issues, and they relate to water quality. They relate to water rates, water affordability, water shut-offs, water shut back on. When you shut my water off and you come to me and tell me I got to give you $1,000 deposit to cut it back on, it was cut off for $200. I got to cut it back on for $1,000. When you have a legislature in a place called Michigan, up north of Mississippi, same thing, who has a disdain for melanated people, disdain for them. And so where they're concentrated, we make sure that the policies, the processes, the protocols, and the procedures don't fit, don't work. So what we say up in Michigan is, if y'all just look at us, look at us. That's how Chicago gonna go. That's how Philly gonna go. That's how Jackson gonna go. And before long, the way Huntsville, Alabama is moving population-wise, we have to make sure that Huntsville is safe. So the game stays the same. It's called cut paste. It's not innovative, not creative, not cut paste.
And you are
Candace, talk to me a little bit about the impact of clean water and safety and lives in hospitals and nurseries. I mean, exactly what impact did this have on the quality of life in African American communities?
Absolutely. And before I do want to say that she is correct when we say copy paste, because the same 600 million number that they've given you was the same 600 million that we had in Flint to replace pipes. So I guess we look for the magic number being 600 million when it comes to dealing with water quality issues. We stay in that ballpark somewhere. But when we talk about water quality and how it impacts things, as Michael said earlier, water is life. You cannot move around or do anything on this planet without access to water. And that water has to be safe, it has to be clean, it has to be free from contaminants in order for you to have the proper quality of life. You cannot go into a hospital, you can't properly treat wounds, sterilize equipment, or do anything that you need to do for those who are hospitalized if you do not have access to safe, clean water. You cannot properly raise children, bathe children, because in Flint we've learned that you lose your hair, you lose your teeth, you mess up your skin. Water is essential, and it cannot be treated as though it is a commodity that we parcel out to those who have the means. That we have to make sure that we do not get to a point in our country, and it looks like it's already happening, where only the affluent have the opportunity to have water. Not only that, but only the affluent have the opportunity to have safe, clean water. We found out in Flint that Legionnaires became a thing. That's something that happened as a result of having contaminated water. We've experienced loss of life in the city of Flint because of that. And I am more than sure that as we go into this cancer cluster study that we have happening in the city of Flint, in the state of Michigan, that some universities have been awarded money for, that as we go into this cancer cluster study, that you will see a link to cancer and contaminated water. I believe that a lot of what happened now as we look at the water settlement, the water crisis settlement, again, something else that they called historic in the city of Flint. You had this historic, what's that number again? Is that 600 million?
600 million.
Once again, that seems to be a magic number.
Half a billion.
Yeah, and 200 million of that went to lawyers, and the rest is supposed to go to whomever. But as we look at that, you had residents who, when we were saying that something's wrong, that there was an odor to the water, that there was, maybe some people had a taste to their water, and other people are showing you this water is clearly brown, it's clearly contaminated, and we were being told, gaslit if you will, no, that's not happening, that's not what you're seeing, it's something else, maybe there's copper, whatever. But we're seeing that those same people who did not know to go get their blood tested, who did not know that lead stays in your blood for only a certain amount of time, but after that, it goes into your bones, goes into your brain, it sticks into those crucial things that you need, again, to survive. Right. There are so many health implications that come along with not having access to clean and safe water.
Candace, we're up against a hard break for a commercial, but when we come back, we're going to deal with the second part of our program is going to deal with Jackson. And we're going to talk about the condition of Jackson's water and what we see and what needs to be done. And I want to know what our leadership is doing to address and head off the type of crisis that could occur if this is not fixed. Now, we're going to come right back after this commercial. Stay tuned.
Socrates Garrett ENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. Socrates Garrett ENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into M.Dot grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome back to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi. If you're watching us on Facebook, share this program with your friends and family and subscribe. If you're watching us on YouTube, go on and subscribe to the program. If you're watching us on WeBelieveDigital.com, our very own network, our very own platform, we want you to hit the donate button and share this program with your friends and family. Now, in the essence of time, we're going to get right back into this discussion with our distinguished panel. We have with us Mr. Michael Harris, and Michael is the founder of the Flint Community Development Center. And then we have the Honorable Candace Mushat, who is a city councilwoman and the director of the Flint Community Lab. And we have also Miss Simone Lightfoot. She's the founder of Michigan-based Light Green Energy LLC. And she's also involved in an LLC here in Mississippi. So we're going to get right into it, guys. Now, tell me, how does Jackson's water, what's the condition of Jackson's water? Have you been able to assess Jackson's water?
Yes. So we've come down twice here already, and we've tested homes in the city of Jackson. The knowledge that we've gotten in Flint and gained around water quality and what we can do for water and how to test water, we brought that to Jackson, and we've tested water in the city of Jackson, and Candace can talk about that a little bit more.
Absolutely. And I want to point out, when we talk about the Flint Community Lab, and if you want more information on that, you can visit flintcommunitylab.org to learn more about our mission and the work that we do. But we teach young people, youth, high school and college age children, students, through paid internships. We teach them, one, how to deal with communities who have trauma around water related injustices, right? And then we also teach them how to go out there and properly collect that water, and then they come back and they analyze that water. So they have access to information, education, and even how to shape policy, things that they would not normally have access to in communities that look like ours, right? And what we see here in Jackson is that there is a need for a water lab. You all need your water warriors and your young people to get on this front line and be able to watch your water down here the same way that we're training the next generation in Flint to be able to, one, deal with one another in these issues and deal with each other in a familial way, right? And then two, how to properly analyze that water, but then two, how to talk about what you're finding, how to shape the policy around water, how to shape the policy. There are so many contaminants that the EPA does not have a limit or a standard for that needs to be put in place, and that is what we need the next generation and the youth to be able to intelligently speak truth to power and say, this is what we need, and be able to shape power policy and be the next people in place to put those procedures in place. And then finally, how to deal with the media when you have to have these conversations, and how to advocate for yourself to be able to say intelligently that this is what's happening. I know this is what's happening because I've tested it myself. I'm sure in the science and what I'm learning. And so we can say that that is absolutely what Jackson needs. Now, when you talk about the numbers that we saw, or the lead levels, it's pretty much like Flint. There isn't one area where it was just consistently high or consistently low. It's hit or miss in the homes, and it all depends on several different things, right? So it depends on the age of your home. It depends on your internal infrastructure, what kind of pipes that you have in your home. It depends on how your water is being treated by your municipality. There are so many things that are in place when we talk about the numbers and the levels that we've seen, but there's no doubt in our minds that it is important for Jackson to have their youth have the exact same program, and for us to bring a lab here to Jackson so that you can begin to shape your future and what happens to you next.
So you mentioned the youth. Are you in any way working with any of the schools in Hinds County?
So we are working with Dr. Liddell. And just such a brilliant woman here in Jackson, and she has access to youth, and she does a lot of work with youth. And so through our work with her, we are able to have access to youth here in Jackson.
She is a brilliant person, and I'm so very proud of her accomplishments and the work that she's done. And that young man she raised is doing an awesome job as well, and I know she's proud of that.
That's right.
Now, how have y'all been received in Jackson by the local leaders? Are you being received well by the mayor and the council and the boards of supervisors and aldermen and things like that?
Yes, I can say yes. We have been from Mr. Archie, who's no longer in office, all the way to the mayor, Mr. Lumumba, all the way to supervisors, all the way to state reps, all the way to commissioners. We spent the day today at the Capitol as they inducted and swore in their lieutenant governor, their attorney general, all of the newly elected officers who will be instrumental in this city. And it was, in this city and the state, it was important that we were there, that we met them, that we had our few words with them, that we let them know we will continue to be in contact with them. First of all, y'all not short on welcoming people. Let me just be that. And I want to speak to the men in this city. Let me just say that. I'm married, happily, all that. Y'all beautiful with the way you welcome us into this city. And the way black men treat black women. I don't know how they do the locals, but I'm just saying, y'all have been beautiful to us, and you all are everything we heard you to be. Mississippi is what my grandmama talked about, right? And so
the pre-record.
Now, when you pause the pre-record, I should be able to talk to you.
Yes, we talking to everybody now.
So that's all we'll need is to pause it.
That's not, see, both will be live. What we trying to do, this is a pre-record. That's fine, as long as we got it.
had I not been able to be here, it would have been this thing that I heard about. I've been blessed to experience it myself. You all have a local stage, but it's a national platform, and I just am concerned you all don't see it that way. When we are watching you all deal with trash, we say, why can't the mayor talk to the city council that votes that he need, so that by the time we see him on the national level, that stuff rolling, it's rolling. My contention is you don't come to the table of policy to do the work of policy. You do that before it get to the table. By the time you get to the table, it's supposed to be rolling. All the caucusing, all of the conversations, all of the disdain, all of the frustrations, that's worked out behind the scenes by professional politicians. And so it concerns me when we look at you all and we go home and we talk about how y'all are and how great y'all are, and then our friends look at y'all on TV and go, well, they can't even get their own trash together. So it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is.
As we love y'all anyway. And then the last thing I'll say is make sure you all look to where we've fell short. Those places called Flint, first of all, we middle class Negroes, right? Sure. We have jobs, we have disposable income, and yet we still face some of the same political we have a governor, and I'm gonna say this and get in trouble, it's okay, who smiles her way. She smiles her way through. She don't tell you what she's doing in Detroit public schools. She don't tell you what she's doing for the overtaxation by $600 million of black Detroit landowners, right? She don't tell you that. They tell you they want her to go to the White House next. We have issues, y'all, and we need to make sure that as black people, we lean into our own understanding of each other. We can pick up the phone and call. So I'm hearing y'all's governor's great. Tell me, I'm hearing Detroit coming back. You don't hear Detroit coming back from black people. the blackest city, we say. We compete with y'all.
Right.
You don't hear us talking about Detroit coming back because it's not coming back for black. It's not coming back for black landowners. It's not coming back for water quality for black people. And so we have work to do. And while we do it in Michigan, we can do it in Mississippi too.
Well, I tell you, we always advocate for African Americans to come back to Mississippi. It's such a pleasure and an opportunity for us to have you here to share your experiences in other places.
Yes.
You know, you live in a vacuum here. One of the things that hurts us in Mississippi is that we're not exposed to critical thinkers. And when we have meetings, there are no CEOs in the room that are running major corporations. Not one major corporation is headquartered in Mississippi. And so we don't have the experience and the exposure of leadership. And so our leadership is homegrown, and it only knows what it has seen. And that's a real deficit for us. Now, let's get back to water quality in Jackson for a minute. Now, when we take this $600 million and we replace all of these pipes, etc., we don't touch the laterals. We don't touch the water lines from the main water line to the household. And so if those laterals are filled with lead or they're so old, it does nothing to improve the quality of water in that house. How do you address that?
I'm going to do it first before they do it. They're the professionals. I'm the policy person. It is not expeditious for those of us who sit at policy tables, city council, commissions. It cost us to do it, to fix it. So what we tend to do, unfortunately, is pass it on to the ratepayer. And so I push back on anything that says ratepayer. That means my grandmother has to pay for it, not me, elected to look at the taxes that we receive and figure out how to pay for it for what we already have. We just go, oh, ratepayer need to pay for it. Oh, ratepayer need to pay for it. It's absolutely terrible in that space. The last thing I will say about water quality and water quality rates, the experience, the exposure to water quality and water access has to have us at the table weighing in and pushing back. We cannot leave our policy and our politics to those we elect on their own. We can't do it. So I stop.
And you must push back now, Jackson. If you don't push back now, you'll be like Flint, where we don't own our water now. Our water's privatized. You'll be like Detroit. Listen, Detroit faced a budget deficit that was man-made or government-made. You know why? Because they took Flint off of Detroit's water. So Detroit would sell us water at wholesale. We would sell it to the Dow County areas. They take Flint off. They lose a major person that's giving them water. And now Detroit's in a deficit, and they swoop in and they take over Detroit's water. Well, who works at the water department? Black folks. Those are good jobs, 30-year jobs, retirements. They're in unions. They can go out and strike on days. They can come up and argue with you because they got a job. So we have a way. This is a way of breaking down our communities by taking our water from us, privatizing it. They're trying to do it in Toledo.
Third party.
We know the game, y'all. So listen, Jackson. Listen, Newark. Listen, Huntsville or any place else. They want your water. If you don't understand that, we talk about 600 million. 600 million they're going to throw at you, talking about you got a deficit here, 600 million in Flint. Then they're going to talk about 600 million like we paid to build a brand new pipeline to a place we didn't even want water from, to a Port Huron. Right? 600 million that was paid by Flint people. So you're going to charge you for water that ain't yours anymore and still stick you with the bill. Now they're going to do that to you, Jackson.
Yes, sir.
And I'm saying, Jackson, you know the game. Young people. And look, we saw wonderful, beautiful legislators in Jackson today. We saw them at Johnny T's. Beautiful people, having a good time, talking about the wonderful accomplishments they've had already in 2024. Hey, Jackson, those people got to get to work. Now, they're wonderful and they're doing the thing. You got so many black legislators.
Yes,
it's a beautiful
sir.
thing to see. We don't have that.
We don't have that.
I ain't never seen that many
That
black
many.
legislative
Say
state
it.
officials in one place in my life.
Say it.
And I've been all over the country.
Yes, sir.
You got something, Mississippi.
Yes,
You
sir.
got something, Jackson. Use it.
Yes,
That
sir.
is the truth.
Now, Candace,
Yes.
we want to get back to these testing and these houses just a little bit. Now, we have a lot of old homes in Jackson. As you say, our pipes are 100 plus years old, 150 years old, maybe 200. And so there are a lot of houses that are exposed.
Yes.
How can you test that many houses? How can we get a handle on what needs to be done and for whom?
So the beautiful thing about the Flint Community Lab, and I will tell you how this relates to Jackson, is that it is a resident-based lab. It is run by, it was founded by someone in Flint. The reason that it was founded, unfortunately, and he can tell his own story, is he lost his granddaughter because of the Flint water crisis.
Wow.
And, and from there, he wanted to be able to take control of what was happening in our city, and at the very least for us to know what was in our water and at what level it was in our water. And then from there, we walk up to the next steps of what do we do about that. And the director is a Flint resident, Flint born and raised. We're Flint born and raised. We have employees that are Flint residents. We employ Flint children, Flint youth, excuse me, because they are teenagers and they don't like to be called children, but Flint teenagers. We make sure that we keep it based off of people who this is going to directly affect you. This is the life that you are living. This is the life that your mother, your father, your grandmother, your siblings, you are all living here having to bathe in this water. Even if you don't drink it, it still affects you because you have to bathe in this water. Be clear, we bathe in Flint. We've had that question before. We bathe. And so at the cost of our skin, but we are still bathing. And so Mississippi has to do that same thing. It has to be homegrown. It has to be you have to have the people that I live here. I work here. My family is here. My mother, my grandmother, my father, we are here, and this directly affects us. Because when it is a situation that you are actively sitting in, you will try and change that situation. When it is a situation that you have to begin to train your next generation, your students that had to use outhouses because they couldn't use the bathroom inside the school, that is, you can't teach them that is acceptable. Right? We are far beyond the outhouses as far as plumbing goes. We are in 2024, so we have indoor plumbing. And so you have to teach your children at a young age. You have to teach people how to treat you, and that even means your elected officials and your elected officials that look like you.
So let me ask you this, then what I'm hearing is that you will teach us in Jackson how to test our own water.
Absolutely.
It's because you couldn't possibly reach all these homes. I mean, there are 50,000
It's a community effort.
houses in Jackson right now.
It is a community
And
effort.
so you teach us how to test our water. Now,
Yes.
I recall that our mayor was giving out a kit at some point in time, and there was some conflict between he and the czar as to whether or not the water was safe. So the Department of Environmental Quality also tests our water at the plant that it's run. So you're teaching us how to do it, and how do you relate to these established labs that are in existence, like the Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality? Do you relate to them at all?
So in Flint, the way that it works is we have our own chemists. So at our lab, the very equipment that you would find at a water plant is what you find in the Flint Community Lab in the city of Flint. So we have an ICP-MS machine, and that machine can test for any heavy metal, right? And so it becomes a check and a balance system. And it's not a gotcha type thing, right? If the water quality in that home is as you say it is, then that's what the water quality is. But if it is not, we go, and so the way that it works is we test the home. The way we do it is the water has to have been sitting for at least 6 hours. So normally we tell people, we try to do it first thing in the morning. And if you work or you have a job and you prefer for us to come after you get off work, as long as that water has been sitting for 6 hours, we test that water because we want an actual snapshot of what's going on with that water. And because our standards, because there's no safe level of lead to ingest. Be clear, no safe level of lead to to ingest. And so for us, if we see a certain level of lead in your water, we go back and we test your water again. This time we do a 1st liter and a 5th liter. And what that's going to tell us is if the 1st liter, if that water, if that number is, if that level is still high, then that tells us that it might be an immediate problem in your fixtures. If once we do that 5th liter, if that water level, if it's lower, then that tells us, it's not going to be, it's not deeper in your pipes, that you have an immediate problem within your fixtures. But if we see if that 5th liter, that level of your water is still higher than it should be. And right now we're just talking about standards. That's what I mean, whatever the water quality standard is here in Mississippi. If we see that is still testing high, then we know it is something deeper, that it is in your pipes. And so you cannot refute the argument that there is a problem coming deep within those pipes, and that the source could possibly be something outside of the home where that water is the problem.
Well,
it helps you shape policy.
Well, I tell you, I've learned so much here this evening.
Right.
And there's so much more to learn. Now, Mississippi is the most unhealthiest state in the nation. We're the poorest state in the nation. And so we have a lot of things working against us. And so we certainly don't need to add poor water quality to the mix of those things that causes us to have the highest infant mortality rates in the world, and almost third country kind of thing. And so we need to get a handle on this. But since we are so poor, Ms. Simone, there has been a proposal that we change the way we bill water rates to our customers. I've heard theories that we should bill according to the value of the property, based upon the property. I've heard stories that we should bill by the foot or by the cubic inch. And we have all of these things tied in our water department. All of these sanitation issues are tied in that. So when you get a water bill, you're paying for stuff that you may not even have in your house in the first place. And so the water rates and the equitable water rates are going to be a critical issue for Jacksonians. You mentioned getting your water cut off for $200, getting it reconnected for $2,000. We just lost a house and lost a citizen. Right. So how do we deal with this water rate issue?
Deal with the reality of by design. By design. They are clearing out Detroit. When you hear about how Detroit coming back, it's by design. It's by moving people out. It's by overtaxing them. It's by overnight sitting at city council and deciding we're going to put a new policy in place and we're going to make it retroactive. We're going to make it go back 6, 7, 8, 10 months. And so now you behind on your water bill, and you either get it current today, or we putting a lien on your property, or we putting a taxation on your property. That's how you clear out a city. That's how you gentrify a city. It is not done without intention and policy. And my thing to Jackson, it ain't new, y'all. What they did to Detroit, what they did to Flint. Listen, folk ain't innovative. The folk that do this, they're not innovative. All they do is cut paste. Cut paste. They go from city to city and they cut and they paste. And so all we have to do is pay attention to what happened in Detroit and what happened in Flint and what happened in Benton Harbor and Highland Park. Cities in the Great Lakes, especially, because water ain't an issue for us. We have it.
Right.
We have it. And we still can't afford it.
That's right.
And we still can't afford it. And we will shut it off on you. And then we say, oh, your water shut off. We shut it off yesterday. Today, your kids need to be taken from you because you have them in a place that does not have health and respect to their well-being in place. So the state get to shut your water off and then tell you they taking your kids.
Yes.
Jackson, push back.
Yeah.
Say something. Don't let your elected officials go ignorant. Talk to the folk in Michigan. With plenty of water, still struggling with some of the same things that many of you all are saying. We are poor when it comes to ability to pay crazy rates that change overnight. We are rich when it comes to saying no more. You ain't coming in my city deciding you gonna charge whatever you want to charge. We need leadership that is bold, that is okay with people not liking them, and okay. See, I'm gonna tell you this. We got some leaders who navigate well in very conservative spaces, very white spaces. They navigate well. We can't beat them up for navigating well if they delivering. We got to do better by how we support our leadership. How we support. And last thing I'm going to say this, give your leadership answers. Don't expect they come in with answers. No offense to Candace Mouchette on City Council. Candace is younger than me with no gray hair, right? So she don't have the answers I have. But she listens to me when I tell her. So as long as they willing to listen, you willing to invest. If they don't listen, if they don't give you their cell phone number, I'm talking about some friends of mine, they don't give you their cell phone number on the campaign trail. When they say, hey, I need your vote, give me your cell phone number. See what they say. See what they say. And if they can't give you their cell phone number, you can't give them your vote. That tells you how they feel about the least of thee.
Candace, I know you want to add to that, so go right ahead.
I do want to jump in because of your question about what they said, attaching it to the property value of homes. I want to tell you right now, I agree with pushing back on that because billing becomes an attack on generational wealth when you do that. That becomes an asset. That's something for your family. I can now take that, and your children won't have that. Your grandchildren won't have that. You won't have access to it. That's not your land. That's not your home. It also becomes an argument of value. Because I can either overprice your property and put you out of it, or I can undervalue your property and therefore make sure that no wealth comes in around it to give that property any real value. I can take away any opportunity of economic development now because companies don't want to come and build over here because it looks like this. I can then take away, because there's no economic development, I can then take away your tax base, which means I take away your public safety, which means you are now somewhere that is not safe, which is in essence, if you don't defend your water, you will lose your land. That is that simple. It's that simple. It seems like a small thing, but then when you think about everything that trickles down into not having access to clean, affordable water, when we start talking about attaching the value of your home to your water, we can then attack your public safety. We can attack your economic development. We can do what needs to be done to either push you off of this land or make this land somewhere that no one else will inhabit besides you. And so that when you finally do die off, your children and grandchildren who have seen this land and have decided there is no value in that because perception is reality, not reality. Reality is reality. Even though this land might be good and valuable, it might be good soil, I will then move because all I ever saw was struggle here. And so I'm traumatized by this homestead instead of wanting to defend and keep it.
Wow, I don't know if she has any gray hair or not, but she certainly has got wisdom.
Isn't she?
So I appreciate that. We are up against a deadline on our program. We're coming to the end of our show. It's been so informative. I've learned so much. And those of you that are out there watching all over this world, in over 139 different countries, our problems are similar. And so the solution will be similar once we figure out what that is. And our guests here tonight have done an excellent job of telling us about what we should be aware of, what traps we should try and avoid, and what is required to solve this problem. Now, we're going to ask you guys to give us some closing remarks, and we're going to get out of here. Michael?
Well, listen, thank you for letting us be on here, Brother Socrates. I think this is a wonderful experience for us, too, here. This is, sometimes you have to talk about these problems to get it out there to let you know you're not alone. Jackson, you're not alone. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have individuals and groups and organizations who have the answers for you, even if we may not on this panel, but we've got plenty of them too. The Flint Community Lab's got answers for you. Look us up, flintcommunitylab.org. If you also want to check out other organizations, We the People of Detroit, ran by the great Monica Lewis Patrick. Look them up. They have the answers for how to deal with water affordability. So, because when we talk about water in Detroit, and what Simone just talked about, how they will take your kids if your water ain't on, but you have organizations that have already been built up who will fight this fight for you. You need to develop those organizations here in Jackson and other places around the country, and we the people of Detroit and we'll show you how to do that. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find out who these organizations are, get your Mississippi link, and link up with Flint, link up with Detroit, link up with everybody across the country, and we can make sure we can make a difference for each other.
Candace?
Absolutely. If you want to find out more about the work that we are doing in Flint, please visit flintcommunitylab.org. That's flintcommunitylab.org. And I just want to say, not only to Jackson, but to cities across America, Black cities across America, we all have the exact same concerns, which means that somewhere in there we all have the exact same solution. It's just going to take one thing to get it all right? And so we have to work together. We have to come together. Like Ms. Simone said earlier, once you elect someone, that is not the end of your job. Now that they're elected, they're supposed to go and carry out your mission. I fully believe that these seats do not belong to the person in the seat, but rather the people that sent the person in the seat. And so do not be afraid. I'm truly a Michigan girl because we recall. But do not be afraid to hold their feet to the fire, to make sure that they are showing up for you in a way that matters. Keep control of your water. Make sure your water is clean. Make sure your water is safe. Make sure it is affordable. Because as Mr. Harris said earlier, it is an act of war when you do not have clean, safe water. We are all linked. Learn from us. Learn what we didn't know. And Jackson, thank you for welcoming us every single time we're here. Beautiful, beautiful city. You have such great power and Black leadership here. Let's all learn and grow together.
You said it, Candace. They have the Black leadership. I continue to say this. We sit in Michigan and look at y'all and go, wow. Y'all have the numbers. We have the boldness.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We just need y'all to have the boldness and the commitment to push. Y'all stepping in high cotton right now. Y'all just elected the first Black public service commissioner in the history of this state. It is not enough Black people talking about energy, renewable energy, broadband, infrastructure. Y'all did this. Y'all did this here in Jackson, and we look at y'all and go, wow. Now, the next step is hold DeKeither Stamp's feet to the fire. He can take it.
Yeah.
He done served at the city level, the state level, and now this level, the regional level. Y'all hold his feet to the fire. Reach out. The last thing I will say, Jackson, y'all are the quintessential place, Mississippi, for renewable energy. Y'all got more sun, more heat, more land, more trees, more wood, more pulp. This is the space, and we can coexist with gas and oil and nuclear in this state. Is not either or, it's both and. We need renewable energy in the backyards of Black folk. They need to be able to put a cellular tower on their land and get that $5,000 a month from that cell tower. That's the kind of things that we need to make happen, that we need to focus on. And now that we have elected this Black public utilities, public service commissioner, let's hold his feet to the fire. And let's see what kind of differences we will make. And I guarantee you, he committed to it. He already ready. Let's do this, Jackson.
Well, that's the end of our program. We thank you for watching. We want y'all to stay safe out there, and good evening.